All right, let's talk about some of the most dramatic plants you can grow, the Catasetum orchids. I mean, look at these things. The flowers are just spectacular, their growth cycle is explosive, but their needs are, well, pretty unique, and that makes them surprisingly fragile. Honestly, understanding their life cycle is the key to keeping them alive. So, let's get right into it.
Okay, so what do you think is the #1 killer of these incredible orchids, right? Your mind probably goes to the usual suspects, maybe a nasty pest or some kind of fast-spreading fungus, not enough light. Well, let me tell you, the answer is probably not what you're thinking.
Believe it or not, the culprit is a watering can. Yeah, you heard that right. Water. The very thing we associate with life is the biggest mistake you can make with these plants, but only at the wrong time. So in this explainer, we are going to break down exactly why that is.
Okay, Section 1, the orchid's deadly secret. So let's get into it. How on earth can water, of all things, be a killer? Well, the answer really lies in where these plants come from and the absolutely extreme life they've evolved to survive.
So we're talking about orchids, in general like Catasetum, Cycnoches, and Cloesia. And these guys are not your typical houseplant, not even close. See, they evolved in climates that have these really distinct wet and dry seasons. This means they are hardwired for a feast or famine lifestyle. They have this period of just explosive growth, and then, boom, a profound, deep dormancy. And if you fail to respect that cycle, well, it leads to fatal rot. It's really that simple.
Section 2, a feast or famine life. And to really get a handle on this, we've got to understand the biology behind this lifestyle. It all comes down to a really brilliant piece of evolutionary engineering.
So say hello to the pseudobulb. This right here is the key. You can think of it like the orchid's very own camel hump. It's basically a modified stem that acts as this incredible biological reservoir. It's a battery pack, storing water, minerals, and sugars to get the plant through months of absolute dryness.
And you can really see the two completely different worlds this plant lives in. On one hand, you've got the wet season. It's just an explosion of growth, right? Lush foliage, thirsty, active roots, just storing up energy like crazy. But then, the dry season hits, and it's like a metabolic suspension. It's a totally different plant. It survives on that stored energy with bare pseudobulbs, and this is the really important part, its roots become deteriorated and inactive.
And here is the critical insight, the piece that makes it all make sense. About 90% of this orchid's roots are annual. They deteriorate right before dormancy. They're basically single-use. They grow for one season and then they die back. And that is why watering a dormant plant is so deadly. There are no healthy, active roots to soak up that moisture. The water just sits there in the pot, turning it into a swampy breeding ground for rot, which then attacks the base of that precious pseudobulb.
Okay, Section 3, the winter shutdown. Now that we get the why, let's talk about the how. How do we actually, safely guide these orchids into their winter sleep? It really is all about following a clear, precise schedule.
So here's the protocol, the exact timeline you need to follow. Around mid-November, you're going to cut your watering frequency by half. And, this is crucial, stop all fertilizer. Then through December, you water even less, just a tiny bit and only when it's absolutely bone dry. But then comes January 1st. That is the hard stop. No more water at all.
And that brings us to what is maybe the most important rule of all. All irrigation must be stopped by January 1st, regardless of the number of green leaves remaining. Look, I know it feels wrong, but it doesn't matter if your orchid still has a few green leaves hanging on. You have to enforce this dormancy. This is especially true if you're growing indoors where the plant isn't getting those natural cues to go to sleep. This winter shutdown is absolutely 100% non-negotiable.
All right, Section 4, caring for the dead. And I say that because, now you've basically got what look like a bunch of sticks and pots. It can be pretty nerve-wracking. But trust me, caring for these seemingly dead orchids is actually pretty simple. It's an active process, not just a period of neglect.
So, dormancy is not neglect. In fact, here's something that might surprise you. They need high light. Actually, more light than they get during the growing season. Think about it. In nature, the leaves on the trees above them would fall, so more sun gets through. You also want to give them cool nights, somewhere between 13 and 18 Celsius, to help them stay resting. And a stable humidity between 40 and 60% to keep those pseudobulbs from shriveling up too much.
Now, when it comes to storing them over the winter, you've got a couple of options. Most of us, hobby growers will just leave them in the pot. It's convenient and it's less physical stress on the plant. But there's always the risk you might accidentally water it. On the other hand, a lot of pros will actually store them bare root. This gives you zero risk of rot from the media, lets you check for pests, and it ensures a totally fresh start in the spring. It's a choice you've got to make.
Okay, Section 5, the golden rule of spring. We've made it through the winter, and now we come to, without a doubt, the most critical moment of the entire year, waking the orchid up. Seriously, if you get this part wrong, all that hard work was for nothing. So as the days start getting longer and warmer, you're going to see it. A new little green shoot starting to emerge from the base of that old pseudobulb. And I'm telling you, your every instinct is going to be screaming at you, water it, give it a drink. But you must resist that urge.
Because here it is, the golden rule. You do not give that plant a single drop of water until the new growth itself, or the new roots coming out of that growth, are 3 to 5 inches long. Not a centimeter shorter, not a day sooner. This is, without a doubt, the single most important rule in growing these orchids.
And there are some very, very good reasons why you have to wait. First, those brand new roots are incredibly tender, and if you water too soon, they will just rot instantly. Second, by holding back water, you actually force those roots to grow deeper and stronger, searching for moisture. And finally, waiting until the new leaves actually unfurl prevents water from getting trapped in the crown, which can rot the entire new growth from the top down. So your patience is protecting the plant in 3 different ways. So when you think about it, the secret to this orchid's explosive, vibrant life is its deep, profound sleep. Its entire growth cycle depends on a period of absolute rest, on shutting everything down to save up energy for the future. And it kind of leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? In a world that never stops, a world that's all about constant growth and productivity, what can we learn from a plant that finds its greatest strength in knowing exactly when to